Hi, I'm Lee from Vapor Clean Cleaning Services. Today we're going to try out the #1 method you'll find if you search how to remove red wine from your carpets. As you can see, we've got 3 wine stains here. This is the wine we've used. We've used 100ml, which is just below a standard wine glass of wine, and we've poured that on and we've left it overnight. So this isn't instant, which does make life a little bit harder, but let's be honest, it's the worst stains are the ones that we forget or we find in the morning, not the ones that we do instantly straight away. So that's why we've done this. First method is going to be a good old bottle of vodka. It can be the go-to one. No, you don't always want to waste it, but it is very useful and typically we have it lying around. Remember, always try and soak up as much of the stain as you can. Kitchen roll is going to be your best method. Obviously this has been overnight, so it is bone dry. And there's no stain coming out of that one. I could measure it out for you, but to be honest, it's just a case of use as much as you need. So with a bit of towel and the bottle, we're just going to try and pour a little bit on. You don't want to be using gallons and gallons, but as you can see, this is already starting to move a bit of the stain away. Remember to dab the stain and not to scrub, because that will break your fibres and it can also make the carpet look patchy and different to the rest of the area. So even if you remove the colour, you might see more of the actual damage to the stain itself. Just going to change that piece of kitchen roll. Not the first time I would have said I might have wanted a bigger bottle of vodka. So we'll do half of the stain so you can see the difference of the before and after. You can still see some discoloration in there. One thing to remember when you do a DIY removal of a stain is some methods can still drive it down further, and the more moisture you put on, although it may take the discoloration out, it can still drive it further into the carpet and deeper down into the underlaying. So now we're trying to soak up as much of that excess liquid as you can and see what result we're actually left with. If you do have a towel or colourless cloth, you can use that as well. Just be careful with coloured cloths. They do have to be very high quality and colour fast, otherwise you can't transfer the colour. Now we're saying vodka because it's one that you may have around the house, but as long as it's a clear, high alcohol content liquor, it should be absolutely fine, and you can use different forms. This method we're going to use is a combination of white wine vinegar and baking powder. This, I love this. We found this in Wilko. It is white wine vinegar, but it's in a spray bottle. Amazing. What I will say though is I'm not a big fan of vinegar. I know it is great for cleaning and lots of people rave about it because it is a more natural product, but I cannot stand the smell. Horrible. So I'm not a big fan, but we're going to try this because it's one of the methods that does come up. What we want to do is apply a liberal amount of vinegar onto the area. We'll do half of the stain so you can see a good difference on the before and after. And then what we're going to do is put a good amount too much of the baking powder over the top. I'm not sure if you can quite hear that there, but we've got some fizzing going on. The good thing about the vinegar is that it neutralizes the smells within the stains. So that horrible dry alcohol smell you get the morning after completely neutralizes, and you won't get that in there. So you can hear that fizzing through, and the fizzing action is getting in between the fibers and actually into the carpet as well, which is really, really good. That's one thing about this method that is good. But we'll see what the result is like. Know that this stain is an overnight stain. So what you'll quite often see in videos is they'll chuck the liquid on, and then within 30 seconds to a minute they're taking it straight out. That's easy, and quite frankly you should be able to do that with water and just a bit of perseverance sometimes. This stain was put on last night. It was a little under a full wine glass of wine, just to make it more annoying and waste a load of wine. And that's why I think we are getting a pretty poor result in my opinion. Trying to rinse a little bit more, but I think we've got a stain which is pretty much locked on this one. This stain, as you can see, we took removal out with vodka, which, comparing the two, same method, same overnight, same wine, all prepped in advance. This method is much, much better than this one, giving us a much better result, and you don't have the stink of the vinegar. But yeah, very, very disappointing result on that one. So let's do a review on a very popular stain remover. Now we've chosen this one because they particularly use a stain that looks very much like a wine stain. On the front, doesn't matter what solutions you're doing, you should always give them a little bit of time. So we'll do half of the stain, but we will spray it on. One thing to be aware of with these stains is if you then have a professional carpet cleaner come in, they may create some foam on their machines, so they can actually damage their machines as well. I'm not a fan of spot stain removers like this. Reason being is they continue to work after the stain. Soap, for want of a better phrase, within this will continue working after we've removed the stain. So the next few days, weeks, maybe even months, this is going to continue to work. So if a few weeks down the line after you've done a removal you see a dark patch, it's that still doing its job. But if you need to sort something quite quickly, it might be the go-to thing. We're leaving it for a few more minutes. You can see it working. I can actually see a difference. Okay, so we've dabbed up most of the solution there. You can see some transfer onto the cloth. Doesn't look a great result. And one thing to remember is the more you're putting on is what's coming through. This is the mark of your red wine stain. In the middle there, I can feel some residue which has actually been transferred through from our stain remover, and we're again driving it deep into the carpet itself, or into the backing of the carpet. And I'm going to use a bit of water. I mentioned earlier about it not stating to use water. It doesn't say not to, but it doesn't say definitely use water. But I'm going to give it a try and see if we can improve the result of putting a bit more on there. I'm using a lot of water on here to try and rinse that out. Now I'm using that because obviously I know carpets and I know how you should be rinsing that sort of stuff out. but that is very, very sodden. If I use that straight away, it has improved the result, but we've put a lot of liquid into the carpet which you can't extract out. But it has definitely improved the overall result. So there we have it. All three methods tried and tested. Over here we have our vinegar and our baking powder, and I'd say by far the worst result. It's still drying, it's not completely dry yet, but we've got an obvious stain still showing, and I can't get away from that stink. In the middle we have our vodka, which has achieved a pretty good result. And remember, this is a set in stain. It's a wine that was spilt overnight or the night before and left overnight. And we've chosen this colour carpet for good reason. It's not overly forgiving, but it's a very common colour carpet. Obviously we see hundreds of different carpets, and this is a very common style of carpet. And then over here we have our shop bought product. Now, I would never pick this up off the shelf because this is not eco-friendly as far as I can tell in any way, shape or form. But we couldn't get an eco-friendly product straight off the shelf in the supermarket. So we chose this one for that reason and the fact it's quite common. It does seem to have achieved a reasonable result, and it was a stain that was left overnight. But we've got other issues than the fact it's not eco-friendly. This was rinsed despite what they told us to do, and look, we're still getting residue out of the carpet. And I said, if a professional carpet cleaner comes in and extracts, they're going to get the same, because the minute we add more moisture to that, it's going to continue to work. And that is effectively soap, which is going to continue to attract dirt to your carpets. So my verdict: 1, act quickly. It's difficult when you're having fun, but if you drop wine, mop it up quickly. And if you have just dropped it, reach for the vodka. No, we don't want to waste it. We prefer to be drinking it, but it's not going to destroy the planet as much as this, and we're not going to have as many issues as this. With a new stain, it will get it out. You'll be fine. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, drop them below. Check out our channel and please subscribe. I am an expert, so I'm happy to be challenged. Let's see what you can throw our way.